Hey, welcome back everybody. I am Kurt from Von Precision, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what I use to measure out my charges. Not only that, but I actually measure my cases with this here. This is the Rcbs 505, probably one of the most, probably the most famous reloading scale out there, and for good reason. So stick around, let's learn something. Okay, so the Rcbs 505 scale, I've got it disassembled for you so we can get kind of just some close-ups, and this will go all the way up to 500 grains and all the way, of course, down to 0. So the reason I took this apart is because there's some things on this that you really need to kind of pay attention to. Number one is the actual balance rod here itself. That's pretty important to keep that nice and clean. And I put just a little bit of lube on that. We'll do that here in just a second. But the scale here, that's just the body of it. And this piece here allows you to adjust that to get your 0. And then, of course, you have your little weighted tray. And then the tray for your powder or your cases or whatever, just, you know, easy in, easy out, right? So let's get a close-up on this and see what it looks like. All right, so you'll notice there's basically 4 kind of major components here. You've got your beam, the body, the I'm not sure the technical name of this, but this is kind of your weighted tray. But then you have your tray here that actually holds your powders or cases or bullets or whatever you want to weigh. So, and this just hangs off the beam. The beam, or the Rcbs 505 is really, it's pretty maintenance free. The only thing that I like to do is I like to take a little paper towel and some rem oil and just a little shot, not much, on my paper towel. And I just like to keep this rod that goes through the balance beam just oiled, not dripping with oil, but just a little bit of, just a little coat of oil. And that allows that to, you know, keep the rust away, things like that. It is metal, so. And then to assemble it, pretty simple. It just sort of twists in there like so. Be careful not to bend anything up. And this just hangs right here. Now, to 0 your scale, you've got a 0 there, a 0 there, and of course a 0 here. So, it's really just about as simple as that. Let's get a close-up here on some of these things we can do with this, and show you a few things here. Okay, so first things first, we want to 0 out this scale. And notice here, the tray is swinging. So all I do is I just take my finger and just let that bump on my finger until it stops. Slowly pull my finger away, and we're good. Now, over here, you'll notice we're actually just a little bit high above the line, above the 0 line. So all we're going to do is we can just screw this little foot pad either up or down. Let's take it to the extreme here so you can see what I'm talking about. So now we're way below. And there you go. We're just about right on. And what I like to do is I like to just kind of bump this around a little bit. Make sure that all of my measuring marks here are still all on 0. Let that bump my finger just so it's pretty steady there. I come back here and take a look at this, and we're just about a half a line away from 0, so we'll play with that just a little bit more. Let it come back and settle. Make sure that you don't have much swing over here on the tray. And there we go. We are just dead nuts right there on 0. So to show you how sensitive this is, I'm going to take just a little bit of powder, put this in my powder trickler here, Rcbs powder trickler, which if you don't have one of these, I suspect you'll be getting one soon. They're very nice. They're pretty cool. So let's just put a couple granules down in this tray here. Okay, I've got 5 little tiny granules in here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But if you look over here, we are about a line above the 0. Five little tiny granules of powder there. Trying to get them so you can see them here. Anyways, either way, not much in there, right? Very sensitive scale. So one thing you can do here is actually weigh cases. It doesn't work really well for real large cases, but it does work pretty good for some short action stuff, pistol cases or whatever. So we can kind of play around with this here. Move it up another 1/10. So we're pretty darn close right there at, let's see, what are we at? 150, 60, 70, 76.3. So this particular case is 176.3 grains. Now, when you're sorting your brass, you'll find out that you usually have three different weights or weight categories. You'll have some that are real heavy, some that are kind of right in the middle, and then some way down on the low end. But you'll at least be able to sort them out that way. So another thing we can do here is just measure some bullet weights, right? So this happens to be a Remington. This is for my 9mm 115 grain bullet, and so what we've done is we've set this up to 110 plus the 5 and 0, so 115 grains. We'll just set this in here. Now you can verify the actual bullet weight of your bullets, and you can do this from lot to lot. You may find some discrepancies in each bag. So we're just a little bit low. So how much does this actually weigh? Well, let's drop this down to 120 or 114. Let's go 114.8. So look at that there. We're actually 114.8 on that. So another way to really, figure out, the actual weights of your cases and your powder and your bullets and all that stuff. You can even weigh your primers if you want to. There are some real crazy folks out there, no offense if you're one of them, who actually weigh their primers. I don't find any benefit in it, but I guess some people do. So, but this is really cool to be able to do this because you can, based on the information you get from this, you can really dial down on your load development, and that's very important. Okay, so real quick, just so you know how to read this particular scale is you've kind of got your big numbers here that graduate in 10. This here graduates per grain, and this small one here is your 1/10 of a grain. And so it's pretty simple. If you want you want 100 grains or 100.2 grains or 102.2, let's say. So 102.2, it's pretty simple. I don't know what you'd shoot with 102.2, but whatever. So I've owned a couple of different electronic scales. I've owned the Rcbs and the Hornady also, the powder scale and dispenser. And I'm not a fan, to be honest. I'm just not. A couple different problems. Number one, I can actually do this faster on this scale. And there was a small group of us, and we were getting ready to head over to Idaho, do some shooting over there at a big long range deal. And we had each to load like 200 rounds apiece, so we're 600 rounds, and we set up the Hornady at the time. And I'm not knocking Hornady. Hornady has a lot of good products. This one here I was just not very happy with, but we'd set it all up, dial it in, zero the scale, and it would dispense the powder, and then boop, overcharge, the alarm goes off, oh crap, pour it back on the top, hit it again, and overcharge, pour it back in, hit it again, and finally we got so frustrated with it that we just we went back to this scale here. So the other problem that we found is, now they say that they're supposed to be accurate within 1/10 of a grain, and this here proved that it's more than 1/10 of a grain for sure. And so it's electronics, whatever. I sold them all, and I'm just sticking with this one here. I've also used the Lee that comes in the kit, or you can buy it separately. The Lee scale, I do like. It's incredibly accurate. It's just as accurate as this all day long. The problem I had with it is it's not as user friendly with the cool little slide pieces here, the little bent tin pieces that you can slide back and forth. I like the user friendliness of this better than the Lee, but if I had to use a Lee and only could use a Lee, at least I would know for sure that everything that I put in that tray is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's very accurate, so I'm not knocking that. I haven't used any other balance beams out there. I know there's a lot of companies that make them, and I've heard good things about them. It's pretty hard to screw up a balance beam scale, so either way. If you do have a balance beam, or I would recommend this. If you're looking for absolute precision, I would highly recommend this. I also don't recommend things like these here, the powder dumpers. They're okay. They work. They get you close. The problem with them is the type of powder. So if you've got ball powder, the spherical or the stuff that looks like broken pencil lead, and the little flake powder, it doesn't run through these, and the powder can stack differently, and so the weight and volume can change depending on how that powder stacks, and you'll find yourself you're off a little bit when now I'm just talking about precision stuff, right? I'm not talking about if you want to just load up some 223 and just go plinking. That stuff's going to get you really close, and you're fine. Use the hell out of it. It's fine for that. But if you're looking, and so are the electronic ones, they're okay for that too. But if you're looking for absolute precision down to the 1/10 of a grain, and you want it to be spot on every single time for every single load, and you want your cases to be sorted as accurately as possible, there really isn't a better way than the balance beam, at least in my opinion, and that's been my experience now for about 5 years, that I've consistently come back to this and just kind of ditched the rest of it because there was the little inconsistencies there. So when you start getting stuff like your extreme spread goes high, or the standard deviation is high, which 2 and 2 usually go hand in hand there, but or just little anomalies and weird stuff like that, you can usually come back to this and go, okay, well, let's just double check it on this type of scale, and you can find that that your powder throws and your powder charges and the other stuff is off. So anyways, I know this was long-winded, but if you do get a balance beam, this is kind of a must-have. Now, this happens to be Rcbs. It's got just a little bit of a tip to it. It slowly comes down this this tube here. I don't know if you can see that, but inside there is basically looks like it's threaded, like you could screw a bolt in there, right? And that just grabs that powder and just walks it down as you spin this. And inside there's a little hole there where it just picks the powder up and slowly just walks it down. And you know, when you trickle that in, it's usually just dropping, you know, between 1 and 3 little granules at a time. And so I use these little Lee dippers all the time. You can buy a huge set of these. I have not the whole set, but I have ones that work for me, for the stuff that I load for. You know, I scoop it out, put it in the tray, and then, but I find the little scooper here that throws me just below what I'm actually looking for, and then I follow it up by just trickling in the last couple granules of powder to bring me up to my full charge, what I'm looking for. And so they kind of go actually all 3 of these kind of go hand in hand. And I would highly recommend, if you're looking at absolute precision loads for long range and very, very consistent performance as far as the speed goes. You know, if you're looking to shoot 3,000 feet per second and you want to get, now you're always going to have a little variation back and forth, but you want that gap to be as narrow as possible so that your extreme spreads and your standard deviations are way, way low. The only way, in my experience, to get that is to go with a system like this, where it's truly mechanical. You have as much control as possible. You're not relying on electronics. The other thing that they even say on some of the electronic ones is fluorescent tube lighting can throw it off, and it does. I have experienced that myself. If I moved it too close to a light or an outlet, I don't know if it's the electrical current, electromagnetic field, or whatever, but it screws it up. So it's just not worth it to me. So anyways, I'm not trying to bash it, because they do work, and they do work okay for plinking. I would not use it for precision, but either way. So anyways, I hope this helps you out and kind of marching along in our little reloading series here. And one of these days we'll actually get to put the bullet together and go out to the range and fire it. But there's so much of this little stuff that you have to pay attention to be able to go out there and do that and be precise, so you're not coming off the range, all pissed off because stuff's not working right. So you got to take care of this little stuff, because it'll make a big difference in the end. So believe me, I know I did it for far too long. I did it, and you start buying boxes and bullets and all kinds of brass and trying this and trying that, and come to find out it was something as simple as this, because you thought, oh, the bullets garbage, or the cases are garbage, or the primers are garbage. So anyways, I'll throw some links down in the comments, or down in the description box below. Put some links in there for you, and I hope this has been informative, and we'll see you soon, I'm sure. So hey, if you like it, give it a thumbs up, share it, try to get this channel moving. It's kind of bumping along, but we're getting there. So hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate the subscriptions, the comments, the commentary. It's all been great. So we'll see you soon, folks. Thanks.